Okay, hi, welcome to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile. This time we're going to be taking a look at my 5th place Remote Duel Locals Skull Servant deck. So they got some new support recently and I thought I'd give the deck a go, and it actually did pretty nicely. So, as always, we'll just go straight into the deck profile, and that was just one of the dice that I have. So this is a, I believe it's a 44 card deck that I have with this, and yeah, so the reason for it, I'd say. Going to start off, you have the three, pretty much of the main Skull Servants. So I've got 3 King, you know, to try and hopefully push for that OTK that you want to go for. It's 1,000 for every Skull Servant in the graveyard, and King the Skull Servant in the graveyard, and if you just draw back battle, you can just banish one of them, special summon it back. Yeah, just our main win condition of the deck. And then with the 3 classic himself, with the Skull Servant, along with the 3 Lady in White. Essentially just there for the means of, you know, getting them into the graveyard from the effect of Wightprince. We'll get to in a second, but it's useful having Lady in White on the field just in case your opponent has maybe an impound or something to negate your King of the Skull Servants, because it protects every other level 3 or lower zombie monster, which is most of the stuff that you have, for battle destruction, as well as being immune to all spell and trap effects. So you have that extra thing, which has got 2200 defense, which is handy. With that, I'm just going through this in terms of order when the cards got released. So 3 Wightmare, which you discard it to either special summon the Lady in White or King of the Skull Servant from the banished zone, or return a banished King of the Skull Servants or Skull Servant to the graveyard, and it counts as Skull Servant obviously, so it means extra 1,000 deck for the King. 3 Prince, your main thing that you want to do to get your stuff into the graveyard to banish them, and then just summon out stuff for spamming. And then 3 Princess, gets your Prince into the graveyard, and then it helps with additional attack reduction. So if you go against something like Virtual Worlds, let's say, then, you know, you could just pitch one of these from either your hand or fields as a quick effect to reduce their attacks, and none of their effects are once per turn for Wightprincess or Prince, or for Wightmare. But the next one is, unfortunately, 3 Wightbaking. This is the new support card. So its effect reads as if you have a level 3 or lower zombie monster or monsters that will be destroyed by a battle or card effect, you can send this from your hand to the graveyard instead. And if you send it to the graveyard by any means, you get to add 2 cards with different names from your deck that either list Skull Servant in their text or are Skull Servant from your deck to your hand, and then you discard a card. Not one of the cards you search, which is any card you have in your hand. So it could be a spare Mezuki, it could be another copy of this if you have too many of them, anything like that. And that's sort of the extra thing to help you out with digging for your princesses or your princes or whatever, or your Wightmares. So yeah. Then 3 copies of Uni-Zombie, because any zombie deck utilises this card perfectly. Helps you get things going. 3 Mezuki, again, because it's a zombie deck, and a zombie deck likes to run 3 Mezuki. And then just my own personal tech, I include 1 Armageddon Knight to get your Prince into the graveyard for extra mills. But he's a very easy siding target in games 2 and 3, because he's not always essential, which is a handy thing in the first game in case we don't draw to anything else. And that's it for the monsters. For the spells, we have 3 Allure of Darkness, because we have enough dark monsters to, you know, draw through with this deck, and it does actually benefit us by banishing things like Lady in White and King of the Skull Servants. So we have the spell Wightmare in hand. And then this is a personal tech of mine. I include 3 Performapal Pop-up. So again, most people might not know what this does. So you send up to 3 cards from your hand to the graveyard, and then draw the same number of cards that you sent, and then you can special summon Performapal, Odd Eyes, and Magician monsters from your hand. Can the text actually clarify? Pendulum monsters with each with a level between the pendulum scales in the 2 cards in your pendulum zones. But if you don't do that, then you lose 1,000 life points for every card you have in your hand, which it doesn't matter, because the thing about this is that you send for the cost. So if you had like a spare Mezuki and a Wightbaking in hand, even if you don't get the draws off, you still get them in the graveyard, which allows you to go into your other plays in the graveyard and stuff. So that's kind of the reason why I chose to go for it in that regard. But again, this is a very easy siding target of going second, because it's not always essential. 3 Chalice, this can easily be an imperm if you wanted to, but this is just a personal deck which I had, which I found to be equally as beneficial. 2 copies of Burial from the different dimension, because we do banish quite a few things, so getting these back, getting your white stuff back into the graveyard helps to boost up your King's attack. And then just extra 1 obs, we have the Foolish Burial, to send any one of your zombies that you need to. 1-for-1, gets your extra stuff from the deck out, and obviously you can stuff in the hand of the graveyard as well, which you might not necessarily want. Monster Reborn, again just revive like a prince, link it off and go into plays there. And the one called by the grave. Never saw the, well, I did see this once, but I discarded it from Performapal Pop-up because it was against a deck that didn't really care too much about graveyard effects. And I never saw my Monster Reborn either, and decided it out in a game, which inevitably kind of cost me. But yeah, that's it for the stuff in the main. The sideboard, I've got, just like I normally do, the three, like half of it for monster removal, half of it for spell and trap removal. Got 3 Radian, because he's a dark Kaiju, so we can use him with Allure of Darkness if needs be, and was able to use him a couple of times to help me out. And then just 2 Gameciel, because again he's extra Kaiju stuff. A personal spicy tech, I have the 3 Super Poly as well, just against some of the people that I have. This could easily be just replaced with something like an Artifact Lancier or something, if you're going to get some like Virtual Worlds or Eldritch, they can't get rid of their stuff in the graveyard to set their traps to the next hand. And then back row removal, 3 Twin Twisters, because getting the discard effect is beneficial for us. And then 2 Cosmic Cyclone, 1 Harpie's Feather Duster, and the 1 Reboot. It's all beneficial like that. Saw the Harpie's Feather Duster quite a few times actually, which was good. And then moving on to the extra deck, so the Super Poly targets we have. For us, we have a spicy Dragonecro Nethersoul Dragon, which something we've not seen for a while. Basically, it's whenever it battles an opponent's monster, then you can make the attack become 0. The monster's not destroyed by battle, and if it's still on the field, then it has a level. Then you get to push summon a Dark Soul token with an attack equal to the attack of the monster that you reduced. So you get extra monsters on there for link place if you so desire. Also, Starving Venom Fusion Dragon if we're going against dark monsters, and then the one that I actually used a couple of times, Muddy Mud Dragon. And just, declare dark with this, make itself dark, and then your monsters basically become immune to any targeting effects. With that, 1 Borreload Savage Dragon, because you can use a loop in order to get this on the board to help get yourself a negate, as long as you don't get an Impurity or something. Then Kikinugashi Fucho, this is just a stall card if you're going first and you don't have much going on. If you get 2 level 1s on board, then you can just summon this in defense and then just stall out for a turn, because he's unaffected by card effects, and then you get to detach 2 materials to make him immune to battle destruction, as well as making so you don't take any damage. Then Sylvan Princessprite, you detach material from her and then excavate the top card of your deck. If it's a spell or trap, you get to add it to your hand. If not, if it's a monster, you get to send it to the graveyard, which again you like to do in certain plays and stuff. But again, I never saw that one. 1 Leviathan the Sea Dragon, again you can use this in combo for looping stuff with 2 level 3s. And then Link monsters, Link Rebo, because you've got level 1s, and same thing with Anima. If you use a Kaiju, summon it to a column, then suck it up with this. Avendred Savior, gets you an extra Foolish Burial in the battle phase if you need to. But it's good to be like a Vampire Sucker or something. Wight's Apprentice, just extra darks if we want to get an attack boost. The most common ones I went into, Nightmare Unicorn and Phoenix Unicorn. They're just generally good extra deck stuff anyway. Topologic, Trisbina, which gets rid of spells and traps if you summon something to zone it points to, which is handy in some cases. And then the 1 Appaloosa the Goddess, because again you can use it for a possible first turn play to set up a decent amount of negates and everything, which I can try and quickly explain. Let's get the cards. Essentially all you need is assuming that you don't get disrupted with this, you either want a Uni-Zombie and then either a Wightbaking or a Mezuki in the hand. And so this is basically how you do the play. So summon the Uni-Zombie, and then you use its effect to increase its level, so it goes up by 1, and then you discard, you get rid of the Baking. The Baking then activates so that you search out specifically Wightprincess and Wightmare, and then you discard the copy of the Princess to the grave. And then you use Uni-Zombie again to increase its level, and then you send a Mezuki. Then you banish the Mezuki to summon the Princess, then Princess will send your Prince, and then Prince will trigger to send your 1 copy of Lady in White and Skull Servant to the graveyard. You then banish those guys, here. Then summons out a king from the deck. You then use the effect of Wightmare, pitching it to summon back your lady and summoning it in defense. You then overlay them to go into your Leviair. Then you use Leviair's effect, detaching the princess I recommend to go and retrieve back your Mezuki that you banished. After that, you then link off the Leviair and the Mezuki to go into just the suitable link to in the situation, which will be another unicorn because it's the only generic one we have, but you can run certain other, rank 2s, or link 2s even. It doesn't matter too much with Avendred Savior or Wee Witches. You can replace them with any other generic ones that can work in this situation. You then use the Mezuki that you send to the graveyard, banishing it in order to summon the princess back. Princess will trigger again in order to send another copy of the prince, and then prince will trigger again because again they're not once per turns, to send another copy of Lady in White and your Skull Servant to the graveyard. And then you just carry on with there. You link off the king and the phoenix into a link 3. So in this case we could go into Trisbina if you wanted to, and then we sync the level 5 you need with the level 3 princess to go into Borreload Savage, and then Savage's effect will then equip the Phoenix onto it and then give it a couple of counters. And then we basically have a lot of things in the graveyard as is, and then if you have any other cards that can help you out with extending your plays from there, you already have yourself a decent amount of Skull Servants already in the graveyard, with the Mare, the Baking, the Lady in White, your Prince, and then Skull Servants already there, so that you already have yourself 8 so far, and then you could easily go much further with some of the other cards that you have from that point, and that's just with 2 cards in your hand. And you have easy ways of digging through your deck in order to get to them. But yeah, that's just one example that you have of these combos, and that's essentially all the main stuff for this deck. It's very fun, very liked, a fan favourite for a lot of people, and yeah, that's pretty much all the main stuff there is to it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll catch you next time for whatever I do next. So long, take care.